testing you can do is this, okay? One of the things I always show my students, if I go like this and have him take a good strong stance, and he tries to push, and I tell him to push with his arm straight in and his fist, and I would tell him to push from the fist forward, okay? He can hold that in. He can actually push me backwards. But if I tell him, bring his elbow out a little bit, that brings it to a shoulder, and he'll go backwards because of that. The same thing as if he were to raise his shoulders in this case, where if we go like this, and we can see it on the shoulder here, if he tries to hold that position here like this, okay, if I push into his body, push back, push shoulders down, yeah, there you go, like that. Now he has good holding structure because everything's aligned, okay? But if he raises his shoulders, even the slightest, his body will go backwards. That's because he's letting energy go towards the shoulder, and the shoulder cannot hold pressure. The function of the shoulder is designed to hold pressure by resistance. However, it's not a strong force to resist. It's not like your chest muscle, your back muscle has big muscles. Your shoulder hangs on a hinge, and it doesn't have a connection between bones like our knees and our hips and our elbows do. Okay, it's not a hinge joint. It actually just sits, and it's held by tendons and muscles. Okay, so it can easily pop. So we don't want to put energy in our shoulders for that reason. Yes, it's used, but no, it's not the source in which we put energy from. Our shoulders are used so we can bring the arm up, but we project it towards the hand and not into the shoulder. So we don't want this. If you see, my energy right now is coming from my shoulder here. That's wrong, okay? We want to take it from the wrist and turn it so the arm can come up. One of the reasons why we got to avoid the shoulders is if a guy punches, okay, or I'll punch him, and he bombs it, okay? If he bombs it the right way, okay, the energy will come from this impact point where the contact is, and it's going to convert, because of the rolling, the twisting that he does, it's going to convert the energy down and underneath and bring it up the form. So if I punch him hard, it will roll the energy. However, if he does it through the shoulder, okay, and he bombs it through the shoulder, where the strength comes from here, or the source of energy comes from here, his arm will have to push. The problem with that is, if you're a skilled fighter and you can feel energy draw back, instead of having to fight it, we can pop the shoulder out of socket. Okay? If he puts a lot of force and we feel his shoulder pushing back at us from this position, and we feel a guy driving that force where we feel overwhelmed, why fight it? Why not just absorb the energy, turn it to what we do the seesaw technique where we give but we take on the other end. Here we connect, pop the shoulder right out of socket. Okay? If you do it through the wrist, however, if I try to pop out of socket, I can't, because this energy is always coming back towards me from the forearm redirecting that force. But if he does it from the shoulder, he's committing, but he's not controlling. And that's the problem. Here, at least he can control the energy, left, right, up, down, based on what I'm doing. So no matter what, if he does it through his wrist, he can stick with me. But if he does it through his shoulders just pops. So we got to make sure it's not from the shoulders. Okay? It's from the wrist. Okay? Some of the techniques that we do because of this control, if you were to throw a punch at me, okay, when we connect to the opponent's arm in this way, we can go from underneath, which is what we see very common. Okay? However, because we can spiral as he punches, we can also send the energy from over top. Okay? So let's do it again because they can probably see it in there. So when we do this, see how I connect? Notice how I can turn the energy, and now because of that, I can take it. We can also punch because of the energy. We can cross bomb. So even if you punch harder, see? Notice how my hand just clips from the wrist. So if he punches, but you notice, even if he didn't punch hard or whatever, my hand stays right where it is. See? The energy, the excess energy, I should say, the opponent's making is what makes it move. If his energy wasn't too strong, now it's like this, and I had a strong energy, it would be like that, and then I could just grab him. But if it was excessive, then I would absorb him while grabbing him. So we want to make sure our wrists has that control. One of the practice drills that I would have you guys do is, through the wrist, we want to take this hand like this, and I want you to practice torquing underneath and up. So you see how I create that torquing from the thumb and the pinky here? We want to take the thumb, bring it in, take the pinky, bring it in, then point to the pinky, draw up, and let the thumb follow where the pinky is. And notice how my forearm moves up because of that. Okay? Notice how when I turn my hand, my elbow will go down. And if you do this experiment with an opponent, we can sit there and say, look, keep your elbow down, okay? Don't move your elbow up. As I twist the wrist, what makes it go up? The turn of the wrist. He can also do it through the shoulder. Do it again. But see, if he turns it and his wrist doesn't really lead, it's going back here and it's going to crumble at that point. But if we can keep the energy to the wrist, even if I push, because the energy is there, like I said, we can control that point. So very important, we want to learn to keep the energy forward from the contact point, wherever it is. We want to draw the energy to the source of the wrist, and we want to use that wrist to do it. So if I'm going like this, I push. As long as he keeps the energy in his wrist, he can keep that structural control. If you strain through the shoulder, anytime you feel a strain in the shoulder, that's you fighting back from the shoulders. So you got to be careful not to do that. It takes practice. I will show you wrist drills in the future to do how to control the wrist, how to rotate your wrist better, how to move from the wrist, stuff like this. So when you learn how to move, you can take deflection, circles like this, parries, hacks, ton, foots like this, and stuff like that. So when we do stuff like that, it's all within the frame, and it's all forward energy without ever pulling backwards so the opponent can't invade our space.